Coming into Marty Supreme, I had a little trust issue with the Safdies because earlier this year, Benny Safdie went solo with his directorial debut, The Smashing Machine. And for me, that one didn't quite hit. So now the question shifts to Josh. Does the older brother, on his own, still have that wiring to make a movie feel like you're sprinting downhill with scissors in your hands? Because if anyone can make anxiety entertaining, it is definitely someone with the last name Safdie. Welcome back to the Garage. Gerald here with you, of course, for another movie review for possibly my most anticipated, or definitely one of the top few most anticipated of 2025, Marty Supreme, which is a frantic, high-energy, never boring ride that drops you into 1950s New York and it refuses to let you breathe calmly. There's going to be no spoilers in this review. I'm going to talk performances, the craft of the film, Safdie, of course, as the director, and why I think it hit me a lot harder than I expected emotionally and thematically. In 1950s New York, Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream no one respects, goes to hell and back in pursuit of greatness. Let me start here. This movie moves. It's got the pacing where you're never bored. You're also never comfortable. You're watching it like you're holding a drink that you're afraid to put down. And what surprised me is how fast I got attached. Right away, I was invested in these characters. Mainly Marty, played by Timothée Chalamet, who everyone knows I am a super fan of, and Rachel, played by newcomer Odessa A. Zion. This isn't one of those films where you spend 30 minutes trying to find the frequency. It's locked in from the opening minute, and it just keeps tightening the screws. Comparisons that you've heard to Uncut Gems and Good Time, previous Safdie brothers projects, is completely accurate. Even though this is Josh flying solo, the energy feels familiar. The movie never lets you exhale. There's always these high-stakes scenario, always a plan of some move that Marty's making that feels actually like a death wish. You're watching this guy sprint through consequences like they're optional side quests. Let's talk about the craft a little bit. One of my favorite things about Marty Supreme is how it builds a world without showing off necessarily. 1950s New York is one of those settings that filmmakers love, and we've seen it a million times. It's easy to do that standard postcard version, but this movie doesn't. The set design, the costumes, the automobiles, the props, they all feel lived in, and so does the dialogue. It has a very of-its-time rhythm. I also really appreciated how it quietly acknowledges the world that these characters are in. You feel that post-World War II atmosphere, especially the residue around folks like in the Jewish community, young men who have served in the military, small business owners, even a Japanese population, as there's a large chunk of the film that takes place in Tokyo. It's subtle, but it is there, and it adds weight to what could have just been a high-energy character study, which is also there. Let's talk about what this thing is structurally. It's a movie powered by momentum and risk. Marty is constantly hatching plans or pushing into scenarios that feel like they could implode at any second. The movie turns ambition into a contact sport, and that's where those Safdie vibes come in. Both understand something that most filmmakers don't. If your character believes the next move will fix everything, then the audience will believe it and ride with them, even if we can see it as a disaster from the next town over. That tension that ever exists creates propulsion. It's anxiety that is storytelling fuel. This movie isn't just fast though, it's fast with intention. The speed isn't there to distract you, it's there to trap you into Marty's headspace. He lives like the clock is chasing him. And when you live like that, you don't reflect, you don't pause, you don't listen to the quiet voices telling you that you're about to blow up your own life or rip your own face off. Also, thematically, it's very interesting because Marty as a character is one of the most recognizable portraits of the early 20s male ambition that I've seen in a while. That age, those years right before college and marriage or kids, real adult consequences sets in. A lot of young men walk around like they're indestructible, impenetrable, like the world is a scoreboard and they're destined to be on top of it. Unlimited potential, unlimited options, the confidence is through the roof. And the funniest part is they usually have no evidence of any of that. Marty embodies that mentality. He wants to be the greatest. In his mind, it's not hope, it's an appointment. There is a bit of art imitating life irony here too, because of course Timothée Chalamet, especially since last year's SAG Awards, where he won the actor for A Complete Unknown, has made it pretty clear that he thinks about his own legacy. He thinks about the Hollywood canon and where he fits in. Marty wants to be the best at ping pong, so just replace Marty with Timmy and replace ping pong with acting and that psychology tracks. But here's what the film does that makes it deeper than just ambition guy goes hard. It explores the brutal reality that the world doesn't really care about your aspirations. You can have a dream, you can dream big, you can even have the talent that goes with it, but other people have leverage, other people have their own games that they're playing. And the universe is not obligated to clear the runway for your personal greatness. So Marty is stuck in the movie asking that constant question, do I keep going against all of these obstacles and deterrents because I believe I'm owed something? Or do I accept that maybe I'm not the center of this giant puzzle? And the movie keeps pushing him into that corner. Even after the end credits, you're thinking about how he's processing all of that. I want to call out the music choices real quick because it's a bold move and it really works. But even though the film is set in the 1950s, it uses a soundtrack that leans heavily into the 1980s. It's no mistake that you would hear Peter Gabriel, Tears for Fears, The Cure, mixed in with these jukebox-era oldies. On paper, that seems really weird and it could have been a disaster, but in the movie, it becomes part of the texture. It creates this time warp feeling, like Marty is physically in the 50s, but mentally, he's already living in a future where he's mythologized. And Daniel Lopatin's score, same idea. It throws these golden oldies sounds into a blender with bass-heavy synth energy. It's modern-day yesteryear, a mashup that I absolutely adored. We've got to talk about the performances. Timothée Chalamet is Marty. He's charming, witty, confident. He's also self-serving. He's basically an asshole, but he has magnetism. And that's a hard balance to pull off. Because if you play him too cold, you lose the audience. If you play him too soft, you lose the character. Chalamet finds that lane where you can understand why people orbit him even when he's probably making them miserable. Is it his best performance? It's up there, but for me, I would still go a complete unknown and Call Me By Your Name as pillars in his career. But this one is close. And it's easily among the best performances, period, that I've seen all year. Now, you probably know the role is based loosely on a real-life ping-pong figure from the 1950s up until, I think he was active until about 10 or 15 years ago. And his name was Marty Reisman, not Marty Mauser. But Chalamet takes that concept and he makes it his own. It becomes a 1950s version of Timothy himself, basically. High energy, ruthless confidence, constant motion, kind of arrogant in a way. And it works because the movie doesn't require you to like Marty. It requires you to watch him. And believe me, Chalamet is extremely watchable in this role. The second on the call sheet is Odessa Azion as Rachel. Good God in heaven. As much as I love Timothy, and we know that he's going to be getting the bulk of the attention this year and already has, hers was the best performance in this movie. Rachel's a young woman who has known Marty since they were 8 years old, which means she doesn't just know him like that version that he performs for the world. She knows the original draft. Odessa plays her with this quiet confidence, but also a deep melancholy. And there's also this lingering hope. It's alluring, but it's also sad. It doesn't beg you to feel sad for her, it just exists, it's there. The key thing she does is she adds another layer to Marty, even when he's off screen, because you start hating him for what he's doing to her, probably unknowingly, and you feel the weight of their history throughout the movie. There's this loneliness in her performance that's hard to shake, like she's living on an island of shared memory, and she's just not sure if her beloved Marty remembers it the same way that she does. You can see it in her eyes, you can hear it in how she speaks to him. She's wondering how her life could have possibly ended up where it is without Marty being at the center of it. They should be together in her mind. They are extensions of each other. They challenge each other, for better or usually worse. But she's also terrified that she might be the only one who believes any of that is true. And it makes it devastating for her character. I don't know what happened on the awards circuit, but I just saw this movie. Those of you that have seen it, we should have been on the rooftops in every major city yelling Odessa Azion for supporting actress. Somebody that did get a lot of mentions so far is Gwyneth Paltrow. She portrays Kay in the movie and she's really good. She's this retired Hollywood starlet that's craving that limelight again. She sees a spark return when she meets Marty. And they have this bit of May-December dynamic that it becomes the catapult for a lot of Marty's problems in the movie. Paltrow embodies that vixen, hungry for attention energy perfectly. I just don't think that her character gets much to do, especially not as much as Marty or Rachel. The role feels slightly underserved compared to how strong she is in it. But it's still genuinely great to see her back on camera in a notable production, and she brings real texture to the movie overall. In talking about the casting in general terms after those first few major roles, there's a real, like, who thought of this energy to this cast, and that's a compliment. The ensemble here is wild. This is the kind of casting that makes you pause and go, wait, that guy is in this? Casting director Jennifer Venditti assembled an eclectic mix. You've got non-actors and personalities like Kevin O'Leary, Penn Jillette, and Tyler, the Creator. Then you've got these Hollywood staples that are popping up in borderline inconsequential roles, almost like cameos. Fran Drescher, who plays Marty's mother, and Sandra Bernhard, who plays one of their neighbors. They're like little surprise gifts along the way. And then there's Abel Ferrara showing up as one of the main villains. This was a pop-up video moment for me. Ferrara is a legend in cinema, especially in Italian film history. He actually directed one of my favorite 80s films, Miss 45. Watch that thing. It's a nun going around killing dudes for being bad dudes. So when he appeared on camera, I'm sitting here like, okay, bet. And the reason all of this works is because the movie's world is so chaotic. So the casting mirrors that. It keeps you slightly off balance, but in a good way. Here's my big takeaway as I get close to wrapping up here. Marty Supreme is exhilarating. And I don't use that word lightly, because a lot of movies think that speed equals excitement. This one earns it. It's exhilarating because you're locked into Marty's constant forward motion, but you're also watching the cost of it stack up. And that tension is addictive. Also, it never gets boring. It never coasts. It never gives you mid-movie sag where you can feel like, oh, I can go to the bathroom now, or let me check my watch. This is one of my favorite films of the year, and it might be the most exhilarating watch I've had all year, full stop. Now, you're in the garage, so if you've been watching, you probably know where I'm at on this movie predictions-wise, so this isn't necessarily predictions, but right now, I do have Marty Supreme in the Best Picture conversation, and I'm also definitely looking at lead actor, probably the number one for Timothée Chalamet in that category. It feels like the cleanest paths for this movie. Where it gets a little trickier is top of the line stuff like director or supporting actress. Now, if I was going solely on merit, I think you know, as half of my review was about Odessa Zion, she would be in my 5. But based on how the precursors have been shaking up, I'm not confident that she has enough momentum to sneak in there at this point. But beyond that, you know, the film is definitely going to be in the mix for a lot of craft categories, including screenplay, production and costume design, editing for sure, because this movie's pace is the whole weapon. When you build a film that never lets the audience relax, that's structure and rhythm and timing. It's editorial control. So Oscars or not, see this movie. Don't wait for those nominations to tell you that it matters. If you like high-wire filmmaking, if you like character-driven chaos, if you want something that feels alive, this is definitely worth your time. As I said, easily one of the best films of 2025. Marty Supreme, on a score out of 10 for me, is going to get a 9. A 9 out of 10. It is probably in my top 5 or so of the year currently, as I've only given out about 5 or 6 9s this year, and only 1 10, by the way. What is it? Find out in a couple weeks when I do my year-end list if you don't already know. Have you guys seen Marty Supreme? Are you planning on seeing it when it drops on Christmas Day? Let me know that down below. How excited for you? Where's this at on your barometer? And if you have seen it, or if you come back after you saw it, am I right about Odessa Zion? You know, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, we let her down, guys. Good Lord, Odessa, you killed it in this, as did the rest of the cast and the film as a whole. Bravo, Josh Safdie. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you out here next time in the garage.